The origins of the carousel go back to Louis XIV, and he held a tournament in France that had to do with showing horsemanship. So a rider would gallop around this ring. In fact, there's a place near the Louvre that is still called Place du Carrousel, and it was this tournament. So one of the tricks, or one of these feats that a horseman would do, would be to ride at full gallop with a sword or a lance and try and pierce a ring that was hanging from a ribbon. And if he was able to do that, the ribbon would give way and he'd be able to gallop around the ring, showing what he had done. Well, they developed a little practice machine for this that would go around in circles, and they would try and pierce rings that were hanging down. But they didn't go very fast. They were always powered either by a servant or somebody pushing this around on the inside, underneath sometimes, and or sometimes it would be horse-driven, where they would set up a horse that would actually turn the carousel. Around 1870, a gentleman named Frederick Savage put steam power to a carousel, and he also invented the up and down motion that you find on carousels even today. And that's when things really began to take off, because the carousel could go faster, they could set it up in a variety of different locations, and it really became very popular at that point. The makers of carousel figures, the founders of these companies, were almost all immigrants from a variety of different countries in Europe. Germany, Prussia, Italy, England, Russia. So they came over here with a knowledge of cabinetry for the most part. As business started booming, they hired more people who were actual carvers. And as they did that, the intricacy of the carving got more and more. So by 1900, you were seeing very fanciful carving as compared to kind of more primitive work before that. When the carvers came over from Europe initially, they were looking for a different way of expressing themselves. There was a certain style of carving that had been done on the carousel animals in Europe, but it was, for the most part, fairly stiff. They were, their legs were parallel in front, and there was a style that had been created, and nobody really wanted to vary from that style. When these carvers came to this country, there were, the constraints on that type of carving were much less. So they were able to express themselves in ways that I think they were really, that's what they were looking for, is a way to create what was in their mind and put it onto these carousel figures. I mean, there's so many different types of carousel figures out there. The main carvers, the main manufacturers, there was never a piece on an outside row that was the same. It always varied. There were so many different variations to all these different designs that they would put on. It was amazing. The golden age of carousels was pretty much between 1880 and 1930. That's when almost all the carousels were manufactured in this country. What a carver needed to do to reach the status of master carver would be to spend a good deal of their youth working with other carvers, learning the trade in a way that is not done today. So by the time they got to that master carver status, they were phenomenal artists. They were incredible. They were creating things with chisels and wood that today you would find you would be hard pressed to find people that are doing that kind of work.